is two-way star Travis Hunter a guarantee for Cleveland? Will this be the highest we see a running back drafted since Saquon back in 2018? Will Shador Sanders make it out of the top 10, top 15? More? Well, we're exactly under 48 hours away from these questions being answered as we are officially at the doorstep of the 2025 NFL Draft. And we are now joined by former NFL GM and my very, very good friend, Ran Carthon. Got to throw out the whole government now on that one. That's how far we go back. But I want to take you from GM to draft analyst. We look at who we've got on the board. I want to go through all of our top 10, and I kind of want you to just run down the list for me. Give me your top prospect overall in this draft. Who is that guy?
It's the guy that you just mentioned, Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, I don't even want to go long on this. He's a unicorn. He's something we've never seen before. Let's enjoy it, and let's see what the young man ends up being. Okay,
so if you have a guy like Travis, you said see what he ends up being. Well, let's say you are drafting a young man like Travis Hunter. Do you take him as a wide receiver? Do you take him as a corner? How do you view him? Or do you just utilize him in both ways?
I think it really comes down to where your need is, whether it's on the offensive side or the defensive side. And so he's been mocked to Cleveland all this time. I feel in Cleveland, he starts his career at receiver and then works his way to being a DB. And let's throw in there as well his ability to be a punt returner. This is the type of guy you just want to get the ball in his hands and just let Travis be Travis.
All right, so we got Travis as your #1 overall player in this year's class. So if Travis is 1, who you got at 2?
Going with Abdul Carter out of Penn State. I think he is the most talented edge rusher. I think he has the most in his body. If you look at his size and you look at his play style, it reminds you a lot of Von Miller. And I think he is a guy who is, especially coming into his first year, even being an edge defender, I think he still has so much room to grow, having been an off-ball linebacker for the first 2 years of his time at Penn State.
You use the name Von Miller, and some of those other comparisons I hear is a guy like Micah Parsons, maybe, that fellow Penn State alum. But what do you think, what kind of system best fits his skill set?
And so it's funny, we've had Ryan Wilson, my co-host with the First Pick podcast. We talked about this all the time. He won't get to this spot, but I think the perfect scheme fit for him is Chicago.
Okay.
And Dennis Allen's defense, where technically he'll be an edge defender, but realistically he would be their Sam linebacker, which is a superhero position. You have to set the edge, you have to rush the passer, and you have to drop in coverage. And Dennis Allen, at one point or another, as a defensive coordinator, had Khalil Mack and Von Miller in that same role.
I like it a lot. Okay, so we got Hunter, we've got Carter. Let's go with #3. Who do you have on your list?
Cam Ward.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not going to argue that.
Everybody's favorite choice for the #1 pick. And dare I say that a guy that's going #1 that's been a 4-year starter still has upside. This guy has upside, and I think he is right there and has a chance to be a really special player. Regardless of where you think he fits with last year's class, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because he's getting drafted potentially at the #1 pick in this year's class.
Okay, so if we're looking at Ward and his skill on the field, and I know everyone's looking at him as that presumed #1 overall pick, what do you think is going to be his biggest adjustment playing at the next level?
I think the biggest adjustment is the speed of the game, and that's almost cliche to say at this point, but it is going to be the speed of the game. He's going to see pass rushers now that are faster than him. There were several plays of him at Miami where he's just cavalier in the backfield, just patting the ball and has all day. He will not have that time in the NFL, so it'll be the adjustment there.
That's fair. All right, let's move on to #4. We got Ward in the books. Top 4 best player out of this year's class.
Going with Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan. I think he was PFF's top-rated run defender, and there is where you like him. He is a gap penetrator. Really smart, really instinctive, really good feel for block schemes and how to get in there and disrupt. And so he still has not a ways to go, so to speak, as a pass rusher, but I think he has room to grow at that part of his game.
Okay, maybe not necessarily the team or fit, but what kind of situation do you think best exudes his talents and his strengths?
Well, let's go back to our old stomping ground.
Okay.
The Niners.
I like that.
In a Robert Saleh, Chris Kasseri gap-hitting scheme where you're just letting guys pin their ears back and get off the rock, tackle the running back on the way to the quarterback, he will fit really well in that type of scheme.
You telling me I should be excited about him potentially? Just throwing that out there?
You should be.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Be wrong.
That's all I need to know. All right, rounding out the top 5, your 5th best player in this year's draft is who?
Going Jaylen Walker. We'll just call him a linebacker.
Okay.
Out of Georgia. Jaylen Walker can do the exact same things that Abdul Carter can. And he will be used and utilized in a much similar way. He's played off the ball, and I will go out and say that I felt like he was a better off-ball linebacker than Abdul Carter, and he is just as explosive, just as disruptive off the edge. And so a really smart defensive coordinator is going to have a lot of fun plugging and playing him in different spots in their defense.
Salivating to get a guy like Jaylen Walker on their roster. But let's head now to number 6. Who do you have as the top 6 player in this year's draft?
Offensive tackle Will Campbell out of LSU. You want to say a model of consistency. He just knows how to play football. He understands angles. He's really explosive out of his stance, and then he throttles down and lets the game come to him. Everyone's talked about his arm length, lack of, whatever the case may be. There are 15, 20 tackles with similar arm length that have played a long time in the league. And this guy was a first-team All-SEC offensive lineman. So he's blocked all these top guys that we talk about that are going to be stars. He's blocked them all already. So I think that'll carry over to the NFL. That
experience and boding well potentially in his future NFL career. Okay, well, as a former running back and coming from a history of running backs / fullbacks, there is a name that has not been said yet, and I'm wondering if it's going to land here at number 7.
It is, and you're probably cheating and stealing my notes, but Ashton Genty, running back out of Boise State, here for me is the 7th best player. You talk about a dynamic runner, and when these clips show that we're about to show of him running the ball, you are talking about explosive lower body and balance. He has it for days, and I think there's a stat out there where he had 1,900 yards after contact.
Wow.
Let me put that in perspective. I didn't even rush for 1,900 total yards as a player at Florida, and this guy has it after contact, which says a lot about his game.
Absolutely. When you look at this running back position, because you think about how it is sometimes viewed, a lot of GMs and a lot of front offices don't really put a lot of weight on drafting a running back, especially on that top half of the draft. A guy like Genty, you think about a guy like Saquon, I mentioned him a little earlier. Is that somebody that's worthy of a top 5, top 10 pick?
I think so, and I was thinking about this the other day, and to me it's this simple. You pay now or you pay later. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Eagles obviously weren't in position to draft Saquon, but now you're paying him $17 million plus a year. Why not get a young running back early with the same type of explosive power and what he can bring to your offense and get him on a rookie deal?
AKA put some respect on the running back's name.
Put some respect on the running back's game.
All right, we got 7 down, 3 more to go. Who do you have as your 8th best player in this year's class?
Tyler Warren, Big Penn State tight end. You talk about the quintessential 3-down wide tight end. And what I mean by wide tight end is the tight end that can align in line, which is on the line of scrimmage, and be a blocker. In today's game, you see more of the flashy F-type tight ends, which are guys that are like big slots, athletic guys. Tyler Warren, to me, can give you 3-down versatility, being a blocker on those rundowns and then being a weapon for you in the passing game. And so he's a guy that when you look at his size, his stature, the way he plays the game, reminds me a lot of Gronk.
Okay, I think that's a good comp right there. But really quick, I know there's been a lot of back and forth between Warren and looking at Michigan's Colston Loveland. How different or how much of, let's say, is there a difference between these two? Is it like a 1A, 1B, you can't go wrong with either, or does Warren have maybe a little bit more of that edge?
I think Warren has a little bit more of the edge because of what I said about him being an inline blocker. To me, Loveland is an F tight end that you can create the mismatches and put him in a slot, but he's not a guy that you want to live with having his hand in the dirt coming off the ball and blocking defensive ends.
All right, number 9, give it to us.
Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle out of Texas. This guy he just makes it look easy. He makes it look easy. He's quick, he's strong, he's powerful, he finishes in the run game. He's very balanced in everything that he does. And so he's a guy that I'm not even going to say he's going to get overlooked. He's just not flashy, but when you look up, his man is blocked and his man does not make a play on the ball.
All right, and so as we round out our top 10 players, I just want to save you from the comments from the viewers because we are getting to number 10, and there's one name that I have not heard, and this time I did not cheat. So I am wondering if this said quarterback is going to round out your top 10.
That's why I don't like you very much. Going with Shador Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. Love him or not, all this young man has ever done is lifted programs to higher heights than where he received the team. And I think he said it publicly, that if this is what you're looking for, then he's your guy. And so Shador is a processor. He is a guy that throws an accurate ball. And I think he finished his career with over 70% completion percentage, which is not easy to do.
Yeah.
And so I think his game, because of the way the NFL game at the quarterback position has evolved to being the dynamic runner and having to have that element, I think people tend to see, because that's not his strong suit, I think he gets knocked for that. When in actuality, come December, January, and February, and the weather is playing a part, you better be able to stand in that pocket, process, and get the ball to the right man.
Okay, well, when you consider Shador, and I've looked at a lot of different analysts and how they have him, where they might have him go, a lot of people see him as maybe sitting for a year, or maybe as a backup, maybe some see him as a starter. Where do you see him just coming out of Colorado, year one in the NFL? What's the best situation for a guy like Shador?
So I think all young quarterbacks should sit. Right, and it's almost an easy thing to say, but it allows you to have time to adjust. There are so many things that goes into becoming an NFL quarterback at this point, and it's your preparation. It's how to take care of your body. These college kids have had this time allotted for them. I think you're only allowed 20 hours a week in the building. Well, NFL quarterback is almost 20 hours in a day. So the more that they could sit and learn, it'll be better for them when they actually take the field.
All right, well, rounding out that top 10, I think it's a strong, solid list. We'll see how everything plays out with the draft kicking off on Thursday. Ran, as always, it's good to have you. We got to have you back more. I like having you here. Taking a look at Ran's top 10 players in this year's draft. Travis Hunter, that two-way star, what he can do on the field, on both sides of the ball, obviously. Running out that top one, but Dual Carter. You said Von Miller. That's exciting. And you said superhero position. Superhero. I like that regardless. You've got some big names here. Just where will they fall? We'll find out.